Hey class, it is Andrea here. We are on our week 11 loudness/intensity section. Should be your second online lecture. So if you haven't listened to the first one yet, go ahead and listen to that first because we will be covering concepts we've already learned there. And let's begin. Okay. So what does loudness say about you? If your volume is too weak, a lot of times people will assume that you're timid, maybe you're shy, you could be a pushover, but most frequently they'll think that you're not confident in yourself and you're not confident in what you say. So I don't know if you've ever come across any people who just have like a soft voice and you know that they're really smart, but they're just kind of weak and so you just tend to not think that they're confident in what they're saying, so then you're also not confident in what they're saying. So maybe you think, well, that might not be fully true. Okay. And so if you're too loud, a lot of people will assume that you're overbearing, you're way too confident, and maybe even like you're constantly angry. So you may not of course, that doesn't mean that you are if you're too weak, it doesn't mean that you're shy. You can be an outgoing person and just have like a weak volume level, or it could be too loud and, it doesn't mean you're angry. But these are just some common thoughts that people will think. So let's go on to our next slide. What causes the problems with loudness? So I have two on here that are more related to a diagnostics. So because there's surprisingly a lot of different disorders that can lead to loudness problems. Now, for y'all here, what I would say for just the typical average layman person in this classroom is it might just be not knowing how to speak with the effective, with the right loudness level, or maybe which situations you need to know what your voice level is at. So, and also self-regulation. And I know I'm guilty of speaking way too loudly. I mean, it's a very, very easy thing to do. So anyways, diagnostically, what we look at is your inability to produce and sustain the proper intensity levels. So what we would some typical people that we would see is cerebral palsy, right? Because there's a difficulty with maintaining that muscular support. So sometimes you'll have spasms and you'll have muscular spasms for some people, and then it'll be, if the tighter your abdominal muscles are, the more air you're pushing out, so the louder you are. But then if you can't control those abdominal muscles, then you don't have control over your loudness level. So you could be really strong or really weak at inappropriate times. And then also you have failure to self-regulate one's level of intensity. So this is can be associated more probably with neurological disorders. The one I'm thinking of in particular is Parkinson's disease. My grandpa has that, and so there's a program by, I think it's a Miss Silverstein, and it's called Get Loud or Be Loud or something. And so what she works on is she encourages the patient to speak louder than what they think that they would need to speak. because the problem is neurologically, the problem's in their brain, where they think they're speaking at like a normal loudness, but everyone around them is like, well, can you speak up? I can't hear you. What are you saying? So so it can either be a problem with, you know, your muscles and being able to like make your muscles move to make it the right loudness level and to keep it loud, or it could just be in your brain where you think you're already speaking loudly, but you're just not able to self-regulate yourself and monitor that. So, okay, so how do you control your loudness level? This is very similar to our breathing. Remember, if we use our big breath, our deep breath from our abdominal muscles, then you can speak a lot louder without hurting your vocal folds. So, like the example is if you go to a sports game, typically there's a lot of yelling and maybe some cursing. And the next day you wake up and you find you have a sore throat. So the reason for that is because you probably were yelling using your thoracic breathing and your thoracic muscles around to constrain those vocal folds so that they like fly together really hard, and then they end up basically causing like what they're called like vocal nodules or vocal polyps. But really, if you think about it, it's like a callus. So if you, you know, sometimes you get calluses on your hand from, you know, rubbing something on it for too long. Anyways, that's how you would hurt your throat. So we often hurt our throats when we speak loudly because we're not using our abdominal muscles. Take a look back at our example of the bike pump. So our abdominal muscles work just like the bike pump. So the more you engage your abdominal muscles, that means, you know, the more air that you push out through your vocal folds. And so the more air is, the more louder you will sound. So if you don't use your abdominals as much, then there's less air and less pressure going through your vocal folds, and less pressure and less air means that it's not as loud. They don't slam together quite as much. So there you go. Okay, so we are going to do a quick exercise about how do we control our loudness. Okay, so if you want to follow along, it's in page 284. First, what you do is I want you to put one of your hand flat against your abdomen. And so this is right below your chest. And I want you to place it where you would kind of think your diaphragm would be, okay? So it's not on your tummy. It's right underneath, like where your rib cage would be. And so put one hand there. So I want you to say, ah, and I want you to hold it, okay? So while you are saying ah, I want you to use the other hand and make it into a fist. And I want you to, like, you know, not hard, but gently hit your other hand that's on your abdomen with your fist. And so what you will hear, I'm going to go ahead and do that now for you. So, ah, okay. So hopefully you were able to hear sudden increase in loudness, and hopefully you're able to feel that too. So now I want you to place both of your hands on your abdomen with me, and we're going to do we're going to say one number per second, and we are going to count from 1 to number 4, okay? Whenever you do this, I want you to start quietly and make sure that each number becomes progressively louder. And I want you to just think about what your muscles are doing, about your abdominal muscles, and feel what they're doing. So ready? I'm going to go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. I know I felt my abdominal muscles contracting suddenly for each number that I said. Hopefully you did too. Okay, so that was just one example to like demonstrate how our our abdominal muscles are used to control our loudness. And there are, there are 4 exercises that work with loudness. For your homework, what I want you to do is do exercise number 4. And that's its name. It will be the first exercise you see for this. It's called Loudness Force, and it's on page 284, and it runs a little bit onto 285. So I want you to do that. And then there's 3 other exercises. I want you to pick one of the other 3. They'll be found on pages 285 through 287, and they're exercise number 5, 6, and 7. So for both of these exercises that you do, I want you to record yourself doing them. I want you to read the instructions once before you record them and before you actually do them, so you know kind of what's expected. And then I want you to upload them to YouTube and post a link onto D2L in the discussion post. Then I want you to answer the reflection questions in the discussion post. And this next part's new. I want you to reply to at least one other person's post. Preferably reply to someone who hasn't already been replied to. But, I understand not everyone will have something posted by the time it's, you are getting there to do it. So, it's not like a hard and fast rule that one post can only have one reply. Just, do your best if you see someone who's recently posted and reply to the person who has 0 replies. Anyways, this is just like our way to connect with each other, because it's going to be hard to do that online. So make sure you have all this stuff due. It's due on Sunday, April 5th at 11:59. And let me go ahead and go to the next reflections questions. And you can pause the video here and work on that. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. It's Andrea Paulson, so that's AEP4R. And keep in mind, though, I do not have access to D2L because I am working at home. So if you have questions regarding your grades, or maybe you're having difficulty finding the discussion post or something, I would direct you to speak with Dr. Davis, because she's handling all of that sort of thing. Okay. Well, it was nice to chat with you guys, and if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, we're here. We're here for you, and I hope you are staying healthy and safe. Okay. Take care, guys. Bye.